Okay.
All right, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Everyone do this.
Everyone's got their watercolors and yeah, watercolors, colored pencils, and their rulers or like their sketchbooks. I guess you don't really need a ruler.
Yeah, you don't need a ruler.
Get your materials out.
Yeah, and I can't see your screen right now.
My phone was disconnected from the Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi's been very weird today.
Can you guys let us know when you have your watercolors out? They need a cup of water, huh?
Yes, and paintbrushes.
Yeah, so like, I think a lot of kids struggle because they come to class, they're not ready to work, okay? Go get a cup of water. Okay, look, there's her cup. She's, what is that, like a teacup, miss?
It's like my painting cup. It has like dried paint in it.
Yeah, and then like, any cup will work. You guys got watercolor at the beginning of the year. Get your color pencils. You got watercolor pencils. Don't stay quiet if you don't have supplies. You need to ask for them. There are paintbrushes at school. I was there on Tuesday. Like, they're just sitting there waiting for you to pick them up. Make an appointment, pick stuff up. Okay.
And I'm just gonna draw like where I want to put my value scale. So I'm not making it very big, but just making a rectangle. And again, we're doing 6. So cutting that in half or about half, and then cutting those into 3. So this is going to be value 1s, 2s, 3s, and then 4, 5, 6.
Oh, you muted yourself. I just muted myself because there's so much noise upstairs. Just to repeat to everyone, like, practice and getting your art supplies out. This is the first step. If you do this warm up, you're going to get full credit for academic prep. You're going to get midterm points, and you're going to get started. Warming up is key. It's like stretching.
Okay, so I got my paint. This is just the blue paint. And if you haven't used watercolors before, it's really important to know that so you dip your paintbrush in like this cup of water, right? So you get your paintbrush wet, and I'm just tapping it like on the sides to get rid of some of the water that's on the side. And then you have to activate the paint, because watercolor, like when it's dry, it's still hard. And without activating this paint, it's not going to actually work. So this is just blue paint, and I'm adding like some water to it, and that activates the paint, and I already have a little bit on my paintbrush. So going back, adding more water.
So miss, when you say activate, that sounds so cool. It sounds like a superhero thing. Because like if we do art, we're superheroes, we're art superheroes. Activate means add water to the paint, just to clarify.
Yes.
So can you show everyone? Because everyone's like we're probably never used a paintbrush before. You like dip, everyone has watercolor, you should all be doing this. You're like literally just adding water to the watercolor, activated.
And see like how like when you don't have too much water, the paint looks darker. So let me like use another section. So like look how much darker, maybe you can't really see it, but like the paint is much darker in this than it is in this because it has less water in it. So when you like, it's the same thing when you apply it to paper, like if you don't use much water, it's like that dark, but if you add a lot of water and you put it on, it's much lighter. And then you also need, like I use a little paper towel, and I like get some water off of my paintbrush when I need to. So this is the light value that we're gonna start with, right? Like the super light blue or whatever color you're using. So I'm adding
so miss, because I'm like slow. I just got my water, okay? I just found my watercolors under my bed. I'm slow. Just to clarify, and it's okay if you're slow, guys. We're students, we're learning. Just start. So just to clarify, if I want a lighter value, if I'm doing watercolor, and I want to get points for my midterm right now, I want to I want to get my art grade up. If I'm doing watercolor, If I want a lighter value, a lighter color, I have more water.
Yes.
And if I want a darker color, I have less water.
Yeah. You can try that like right now. Like just put water on your paintbrush, like put it in the paint and like see like how light you can get it or see how dark you can get it.
Y'all post these little blobs right now of darks and lights. I'm upping your grade, right? It's a big deal to get a paintbrush out during quarantine. Okay, keep going, miss. Sorry.
Okay, and be careful. I always like try and clean my paintbrush off into like my drinking water. Just to put it out there, it does happen. So be careful if you have like a cup of coffee.
It happens to me too. Yeah. I put a paintbrush in my baby's milk. Don't do that.
Okay, so I added a lot of water to this one, right? Like to this like section of the pen, and it's gonna be a super light value, and we wanna start light with watercolor. I know when we work with pencil, when we made those value scales, we started super dark in box number 6, right? But if you are working with watercolors, can anyone type in the chat and say like, why do you think we want to start light? Like we always start dark with colored pencil and pencil, but with watercolor, why start light? Light is not as, oh wait, sorry, what?
I was gonna say I think we should start light because of how dark your watercolor can get when it's activated with water, and to show the different values of how dark and light a watercolor can get.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I love when people unmute. Thanks, Janara. Points for Janara. And Marilyn also wrote in the chat because of the water that's mixed with the paint. Yeah, and also like when we're working, especially like with values in watercolor and you're like trying to get this light value, it's going to be easier to start lighter and add layers of dark. It's like markers, like we always start light, right?
Yeah,
So,
I feel like that's a mistake a lot of us made with our still lifes. And mistakes are good. But it's like I feel like a lot of kids grab the darkest markers, right? And you want to start light. I love that you're reteaching this point, Miss. I love it. I'm learning from you. Points for Miss Hibler.
okay. So we're going to get this paint. We're actually going to start putting it into this value scale. So we're going to go all the way across, starting in box number 1. Like, look at how light this blue is. And remember, you can be using another kind of color. You can be using like green or red. So I'm going to put it all the way through like all of the boxes to add this like first layer of blue.
Miss, so that's so amazing. So like, would you say the key to watercolor is layering?
Yes.
Oh, so just to clarify, guys, grid people, you're using like a different kind of paint, but this is good practice when you're thinking about value. Everyone in here, if you use watercolor for your portrait, how am I not going to raise your grade? I mean, it's a challenge. Do this right now. Get points. Okay, go on, Miss.
Because we can see like, let's try and add like a layer onto like what we have here. So I'm adding a little bit more paint to my brush, and like this is already a super light color, but if we add just one more layer on top, like look at how much darker it gets. So like you can use this on your self-portrait. Like zoom in a little bit. It's tiny.
And Miss, will they get a lot of points if they're like challenging themselves with watercolor?
Yes. And you could also like use it in the background. It's super easy. Like instead of like using pencil or like colored pencil to shade the whole thing, it's also just easier if you like use watercolor and just fill in the whole background. Wouldn't you say that's like a good way to add value and contrast, Miss?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of folks like not add value. And I will say, as teaching art for years, kids don't like adding value because you're scared of making a mistake. Don't be afraid, everyone. Don't be afraid. Just keep going. Add those dark values. Darken the background. That will make magic. And even if, sorry, Miss, even if you're scared of watercolor and you don't want to do it on your face, you could still paint the whole background around your face dark. And it's going to make your self-portrait 10 times better.
Yeah, I liked how in your video you showed us when you were painting that portrait of your daughter, like adding that like dark blue and purple background made like her whole face pop out because it had a lot of like whites and like pinks, yellows, and browns in it. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit more paint to like this watery mixture we have here. So I'm gonna take some paint from this side and add it in here. And you apply it, so leaving the first one to still like this light color, we're applying more paint to the second box. We're adding layers. It's so satisfying. Like, this is kind of like trial and error, so you might run out of paint, you like keep going back. But yeah, you kind of like find what you like and like techniques you like. Oh, am I frozen?
Nope.
Okay.
So like guys, don't make excuses. Get your paints out. Be organized. Go on, miss. Sorry.
Okay, so we can see this like big difference between box 1 and 2 already. So I'm gonna wait for it to dry because if you paint wet on wet, which is like super wet paint on top of wet paint, like let me try it right here, it's all gonna blend together, which can create a really cool effect, but you like see how this like watercolor just like kind of went everywhere. So waiting for it to dry is really important if you're trying to make like these harder boundaries with the paint and you don't want it to all blend together.
What would you say, like Kiara, hi Kiara, who talks more when you teach, miss. Good job, you. Kiara, I'm not making fun of you. I just love it when you chat. Keep chatting. She says the paper's gonna rip.
Oh yeah, that's why we're using, like, I'm not sure what kind of paper you all have in your sketchbooks, but miss, I'm guessing it's like multimedia.
Yeah, it's multimedia and it won't rip. It won't rip unless you're using too like it.
If you use like printer paper, yes.
Yeah, if you use printer paper, the sketchbook paper shouldn't rip. But if it rips, who like that's great. Post a picture of your ripped up sketchbook that's been used, and I'll give you points. Like, don't worry about keeping your art supplies perfect. You know what I'm saying? Use them.
Very true.
Don't be afraid. Okay, are we doing this? You're getting this is midterm. This is a midterm, everyone, and then we're working on our portrait. Keep going.
It might still be a little bit wet. Should we go to the colored pencils while we're waiting?
Sure.
Okay.
So, like color pencils, guys, you should have your color pencils out too.
So I have my orange colored pencil out, and I'm going to make a second value scale right above this.
Points for Janara, who did a post. Thank you, Janara, showing us you're working.
So again, like the boxes don't have to be perfect. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. And I'm gonna start off in 6 because with colored pencil, it's gonna go super dark. And remember, like holding your pencil in different ways and like holding it flat against the paper. So like this is gonna create a super dark orange value. Like, look how nice this looks. You can't see the lines of the pencil at all. I don't know if this is out of focus for you guys. It looks like it is a little bit.
It looks good, miss. You're doing great.
Thank you.
I'm live approving, like people have posted updated portraits, and I'm live approving like photos, giving points. Thank you, Devin, for posting that he's working. He's doing different values with watercolor. Very good. Keep going. So we're also, so just to clarify, miss, we're letting our value scale for watercolor dry.
Yes.
Our grade can't go down if we post, right? It can only go up. And then we're taking a break, and now we're having the same experience, but we're using a different medium.
We're working back and forth, keeping you guys active. Okay, so that's a pretty dark orange box. And looking back at the watercolor, I think this is pretty dry. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the watercolors. And getting my paintbrush wet again. And you might need to like dip your paintbrush into the paint again if you don't have like this. And I'm going to add a little bit more blue into this one. I think that might be a little bit too dark, so I'm adding more water to the pan. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now we'll go back into box number 3 and add another layer. Nice. And it's already darker than box number 2, but I feel like it's a little bit light, so I'm gonna add a little bit more blue to it. And then I'm going all the way across to add that, like add another layer to all of these next boxes.
So this is so interesting because, guys, it's the same thing with the markers. Stephanie Carrill in period 6 was teaching us this. If you need a color to go darker, just add another layer. Art's all about layering.
Yeah, look at like 1, 2, and 3 already so different from one extra layer.
Guys, I'm going to give major extra credit if you're posting live. I don't have any posts from Noe this week, Zahir, Anthony, Khalil, Ryan, Kiara, are you painting? Derek Lopez, are you painting? Jaylyn, Lindsay, Brian Sandoval is not here. Mercedes, Gabriella, Aidan, Yordi, please post. Okay, sorry, Miss.
Okay, so going back to the color pencils while we wait for this to dry, I'm making box number 5, which is like we saw in that video, it's a next door neighbor of box number 6. So it's not the exact same, but it's close. So I got that, and I'm gonna change up like the direction I'm holding my pencil. And I'm just gonna keep adding values using the side of my pencil. And I feel like it's getting pretty close. And we're doing like that cross hatching technique that we talked about. We go in like several different directions, and you can't see like these like pencil lines really. It all like blends together. Okay, so this looks pretty close. And I'm gonna go on to box number 4.
You should all be painting. All be painting. So it's interesting. Color pencil, you go dark first. But watercolor, you go light first. Wow. I never made that distinction.
And I feel like box number 4 is still pretty light.
So you're adding another layer.
Yeah, but we keep these layers kind of light because it's so easy to go like dark too soon, just like you could with the watercolors. And it's hard to take off those values. So I'm gonna keep like carefully adding layers. And I think like the most challenging values to get are like numbers like 3, 4, maybe sometimes 5. Like they all kind of blend together sometimes. So you really want to make sure that you like distinguish the difference between box numbers 3, 4, and 5.
Miss, I just want to say, I'm thinking out loud. I'm learning so much about value now. After I post like my portrait project, do you think I could draw a 3D object now that I know more about value with watercolor or color pencil to get points?
Yeah, if you like had something in your still life even that you really enjoyed drawing, like maybe go back and draw it again.
Yeah, you could redraw things. You could redraw like one part of your still life, just applying what you're using with value, and then your grade will go up because one of those big summative grades is application of value. Nice, Miss. Way to teach them ways that they can raise their grade. I'm sure they appreciate you. Guys, I'm going to hit refresh on Seesaw again.
Okay, going back to the watercolors again. I'm gonna keep moving back and forth because you gotta wait for these watercolors to dry sometimes. And I'm reactivating this paint because it's kind of drying out again. Adding some water.
If they feel like I'm looking at some Seesaw posts, if they feel like their watercolor is too wet, could they just dab it up with a paper towel? Can you model doing that? Because I'm seeing some, guys, don't worry about it, but I'm seeing some papers are kind of wet.
For sure. Like if you added too much water to your paint, like let's say like this is super watered down and like you keep doing that, like you can take some water off of your of your brush, and you can also like go in with your paper towel and like take some off of the paper itself, and like look how light that got just from like dabbing. Let's see if I can like move my light. There we go. So let me show you guys that again.
Guys, good. Shout out to Jose, Marilyn, Janara, Jasmine Diaz, Jocelyn, Marcos posting a Seesaw live. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
So
Jenny, that's looking great. Okay, keep going.
Sorry, miss. So let's say like I added too much water to this and it's like too dark. You can use this like paper towel and just dab it, and like look how dark, or look how much lighter it got.
Mm-hmm. So it's like paper towel is kind of like an eraser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, mind blowing to our teachers.
So going on to box number 4, we're adding another layer of darker color. And look how different it got from box number 3 again. And we're going all the way across to add like that whole layer to the rest of the boxes. Now I'm going to just get ready like some darker paint in this second part of the pan. And then we'll go back to the colored pencils. So box number 3, I feel like that, yeah, this definitely gets like kind of hard. So we're starting off super light, using like the sides of your pencils and holding the pencil a little bit more towards the back. Because if you hold the pencil more towards the back, it takes the pressure off of where the color is coming from, right?
Yes, I see some kids like their value scale's coming out kind of dark, and it's like you gotta like really like focus on like hardly, you're just feathering with the pencil. Watch Miss, how light she's going. Some of you guys, can they do their value scale like a second time if they want to make it better?
Yeah, I mean that's super fast to finish, so good for you guys. But we're only like halfway through, so
okay.
You can go back and make a second one. You can do it small, like make it thinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's never too much practice. So I'm gonna keep changing up the direction of my pencil.
Come on, guys, you got a live post. See, this is a test. Think of this as like, you know, I'm trying to improve my grade, and I'm going to enter a lot of this as extra credit. So you'll get points, but then you'll get extra credit on top of it, because I'm really trying to reward kids for keeping their motivation up, motivating each other. I'm going to click refresh on Seesaw again.
All right, so we got this lighter value on box number 3. And I'm not sure if it's too light right now, but we'll go on to box number 2 and see how we feel about that. We can always go back and darken it. So I'm still using the side of my pencil, because that avoids, like if I held my pencil like this and did that, like there's less surface area at the tip of the pencil, and that ends up like showing these like lines. If you like see the difference between like these lines and like this blending.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like hold it at the side and do that, then you cover more paper faster and you get rid of like the pencil lines.
So my pencil's at the side when I draw, and I'm just like this, Miss?
Yeah. So I feel like box numbers 2 and 3 are too close, and 3 and 4 have enough room for me to go a little bit darker in 3. So I'm going to go back and darken it up. And just adding like one more light layer to see where it goes. feel like you could use like another layer. So I'm gonna go a little bit darker, just adding like another layer. And there we go. And then box number 1 is probably gonna be like one super, super light layer. So you gotta be careful. And there we go. Now going back to the watercolors.
That's amazing. I like the kids, you're blowing their mind. So with one color, just to clarify for everyone at home who's watching, with one color pencil, you could do a whole value scale. You're just using one pencil. You haven't switched color pencils at all.
Not at all. Just orange.
And could I do this with like a crayon?
Yeah. You can add value.
Go get your kit, your like little brother, sister's like Crayola crayon. You could do this, get some points. I'm hitting refresh again. Keep going. Shout out to everyone who's getting midterm points.
Okay, so these last 2 boxes are gonna be darker, so we wanna make sure that we don't have too much water. And sometimes if I feel like I have too much water in my palette, I'll like go add it to like a second like drier area. And then I'll go back into the paint and I'll add more paint into that like small batch of water. So box number 5, let's see. That looks still a little bit too light, so I'm gonna go back, get more paint and add it to the water. Okay, so let's see this. And we're going all the way through to add that layer to all of the boxes left. So box number 5 and 6. And now you get to see like the difference between 4 and 5. So we know that's good. And just because it's only one more box left, I'm gonna add another layer. Hopefully it doesn't all blend together. I'm gonna try and dry it out.
Yeah, Miss is doing like, it's like, this lesson is amazing, guys. You have no idea. The work I'm seeing on Seesaw right now. But Miss, like, they could post, even if it doesn't look nice, they could still post it and get points, right?
Yeah. You can like post like blotches of color as long as it's 6 different values, like try and get like that range. So for box number 6, I want to make sure it's super dark. So I'm going to get some water and really like get some paint. But the thing with watercolor is it's so easy to just pick up paint. You don't like have to dig into it to pick it up. I see some people like really like press their paintbrushes into it. So be careful with the paint, it gets soft sometimes.
That's totally what I do to my watercolor. I abuse my water. It's so bad. It's bad. I'm not nice to my watercolor. Wow. How'd you do that again?
So on the last box, we just get a lot of paint and less water. So let's start. Like this is some blue water I have. So let's go back into the paint and like you can't see it on the brush, but there's like a lot of blue paint on it. If you just do that, like look how dark it is.
So that's like, just to clarify, that's less water.
Yes, less water, more paint.
Guys, I'm gonna give extra credit to all these folks who are posting, but it's the folks who always post, right? This is like my eternal problem. I offer extra credit, but it's like some kids don't take it. Oh, Miss, did you stop? Are you done with your demo?
Oh, yes, I
Can you
was
show
gonna.
one more time?
Yeah.
Just like reiterate what you did.
Okay.
Or no, you know what? If you just want to, okay, yeah, okay, you're sure. So just like explain one more time, like in case they see this on YouTube later and they decide to do it later. I don't know. They get their watercolors from school because there's a whole box of watercolors at school, guys. Like it's just sitting there. So I know some of you haven't picked up your watercolors. So just explain, like summarize what you did.
Okay, so first we started with like that super light layer of paint all the way across. And that was box number 1. And then we left box number 1 alone and we got like another layer of paint on our brush and we went and put it on top from box number 2 all the way through to box number 6. And then we kept repeating that, like go back, like usually you wait for it to dry and then from box number 3 you add another layer And then you go on to box number 4 with another layer, and each time it gets darker and darker and darker.
So post now, everyone. I see a lot of people saying, I'm doing this, but I don't think it's good, so I'm not going to post. Post now. I am updating grades now. Okay, I'm trying to like update grades now. We need to see portrait progress. Post now. And then if you need more watercolor, make an appointment. Send an email to me. And yeah. So Miss, you want to give some live feedback real quick before we move on?
Yeah. I always love seeing what you guys post. Ooh, yay. This looks so good. I feel bad like whenever someone uses like the same colors I do, like you don't have to use the same colors that I do, but this looks so great. Like the swatches of color, I can see like you tried, oh, this little heart. Like it's so fun to like see how everyone like tests out watercolors. And like watercolors are meant to be super fun and flowy. Like you can just put a bunch of water down on the paper and then start adding like splotches of color into like that big area of water and like see the paint spread out through. Ooh, this is so neat. Like the light blue here, like it looks so different from like number 3 and 4. Nice. Yeah, like these, like, isn't it so fun to just try it out? I think you might want to go a little bit bigger.
That's a good point. A lot of kids, they try to like do real small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like work bigger. And also you could do this in your sketchbook too.
Is this watercolor paper?
Yeah, I think he's doing it on the corner of his watercolor paper, which is fine. Like in my demo, like yesterday or on Tuesday, I used half the watercolor paper to practice. That's fine, you know, but like I would also, you know, save your sketchbook for a lot of practice. But this is good, Devin. Like Devin, you're going to get an A because you're posting.
Yeah, you can see like this layer that you added like right here in the corner too. Like that looks so cool. And like you can use that on your faces too. They posted progress. Everyone's posting progress.
I just posted like Jocelyn Rivas's latest one. It looks pretty cool. But there's a lot of stuff. So I don't know if you want to, yeah. Sorry.
Should refresh.
Yeah, maybe refresh. Just to clarify, Janara, Marilyn, Jose, Jasmine, Diego, Jenny, Jocelyn, Marcos. I would love to see a post of you practicing these materials to say, even though you like posted that, like Marcos did that, like anime.
Yeah.
But like Devin, I need you guys, like you guys are all posting, that's great, but everyone else you need to post.
Jose, like remember when we're like doing value scales with watercolor, you put that like number 1 layer all the way through all 6 of the boxes. Like we add layers, so if you like go one at a time, it's hard to control like how dark each one gets. But if you add like this number 1 layer all the way through the boxes and keep adding layers on top of that, like it's easier to control how it gets darker. Does that make sense? Like layering is key.
So go all the way through, Jose.
Yeah, like this. Like this is like number 2 value all the way through. And then they'll start at number 3 next time and they'll go all the way through. It's cool to see like everyone's set up.
Oh, Esmeralda Solis posted live. That makes my day, Esmeralda. Yes. Oh, I feel like $1,000,000 right now. Miss, you're changing lives. Good job.
It looks so clean.
Nice. It doesn't have to be clean.
It doesn't.
Good art can be messy. Good art can be messy. I'm coming from a messy one. But yes, very good, Esmeralda.
Watercolor is so hard to control, so that's pretty cool. Lucia's isn't loading on my page. I'll come back and refresh.
He wasn't loading on mine either.
Oh.
So I think Lucia posted empty. That's okay, Lucia. Lucia, you got an A no matter what. Your A is so solid. Look,
Jenny. Did you have your own watercolors?
I know. Jenny has like these really cool watercolors.
I think ours are like very similar. Mine is a little messy. but it looks the same.
All right, Miss, should we yeah, Jocelyn's is awesome. I'm gonna click stop.